honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats. All right, item number 3, presentations and proclamations. 3A is a presentation by Major Richard Smith from the Joint Base San Antonio Randolph Air Show to give us an update of an air show that's happening in 2 weeks, right? 3 weeks? Major Smith, thank you for being here. The floor is yours, sir.
No worries, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, City of Garden Ridge. I am Major Smith, and as you can obviously tell, as you've heard from the buzz with everything else, we are having an air show coming up here on the 22nd, or 22nd is the practice that's going on when they all get everything together. We're going to do a STEM event that day, but the 23rd and 24th will be the main days for the air show that we have. So as you can see, we've been working with all the different councils. I know I've seen Mayor Erickson at the Northeast Partnership, so we've definitely had a presence there. I know Mayor Williams from New Berlin, he's definitely made a huge push for the Thunderbirds with everything, being a former crew chief from where he's at with everything. So we're expecting about 300,000 to 500,000 people in total over both of those days to be there. So it's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of action that's going to be happening there. Our main headliner is going to be the Thunderbirds for the Air Force 75th anniversary, but additionally, we also have a C-17 demo, an MV-22 from the Marines, and also the F-35 demos coming back. I know it just flew for Fiesta here, so we're going to bring those guys back and have another flyover by them. Additionally, it has an AC-130 arms demo listed. However, we just found out recently that's going to get swapped out. They had some real-world contingency operations that kind of popped up as things happen. So we've actually backfilled them with some other acts that we have going on. In total, we still have about 4.5 hours of show time. We were able to get Mr. Ralph Royce, who's one of the most well-known air bosses I think that's out there. He was inducted into the ICAS Hall of Fame with everything that's going on there. So we're pretty confident that he's going to be able to keep adjusting the lineup as needed. We got some aerobatic demonstrations from some other performers. We'll have one of the planes land on a truck during that. We'll have Shockwave there, who apparently goes over 300 miles an hour, just scorching down the runway with everything. So it's really going to be a good lineup, good time with everything that we have. As you can see, we've also got Tora Tora Tora. They basically replicate the Pearl Harbor attack as was going on there. So they bring in vintage aircraft. They're going to have their pyrotechnics team set up that morning on both Saturday and Sunday to make sure all the pyro is good to go, making sure it's shipped in and everything's good for the pyrotechnics on that one as they do their passes to simulate what that attack looked like with everything that was there. Other flybys, like I mentioned, we have other aerobatic aircraft. There's also going to be some other assets that we have. So we have a lot of heavy aircraft coming in, C-5, C-17, C-130, KC-135. Apparently, I was also told we have this airplane called a Super Guppy that's coming in. It's apparently a NASA aircraft that's going to be arriving, so that's going to be pretty interesting to see. I have not actually seen that one up close myself, so I'll be interested to see that one as well. Otherwise, we do have a lot of civilian statics. We've gotten a lot of pull from the communities with other people who have just different airframes that they want to fly in. So we'll have those set up on the ramp as well, in the south ramp. And then also looking at a lot of Wartburg static aircraft with that. We did coordinate with the Commemorative Air Force Marshalling Service. So they'll be out there as well, just basically taking care of those historic warbirds that we have, B-29, C-47s. I know we've got a wing for Commemorative Air Forces up in San Marcos and some other surrounding areas, so they've been very helpful as far as working with us and making sure we get those assets out on the ramp so we can show the public what we do as the Air Force and also the historical images that we have and everything else, since it is the 75th anniversary for the Air Force and also the 80th anniversary for AETC, since they started with Army Air Corps before we got formed as a service. Otherwise, as far as different things for opportunities, we do still have sponsorship opportunities. It is a little bit closer to the timeline, but we can get you in touch if anyone's interested as far as our Force Support Squadron and being able to work that. So we are one of the largest military communities. I know we were designated Military City USA, so it's kind of proud heritage we have there as far as being close with the community and also the military members is there. Being the largest DoD installation, we do have our other partners with Fort Sam Houston and also Lackland, so we've got a large military presence just spread over the entire community and also the city itself. As far as the event recognition, there is certain verbiage we have to adhere to just because of sponsorships and everything, all the legal verbiage that's there, which is well beyond my scope of everything. So I always talk to the lawyers to make sure we say everything properly the way we should. But you can see the different levels that we've got there with 1, 3, 6, 12, 18, 25 for either financial sponsorship or in-kind gifts as well that we can take and work with as we're going through with everything. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to work with and kind of figure out how we've got stuff. I know from the Northeast Partnership when we were there, I know Live Oak has also partnered and they've contributed as well, and we're also thankful for just all the community support we had. I know I mentioned Mayor Williams earlier, but he's definitely been a big supporter and big advocate with everything for the air show as well. If anyone is interested in details for the sponsorship, just let me know. I can get you in touch with the right people if that's something you're concerned about or want to make sure you can get that working as well. But other opportunities listed down at the bottom, you can see hotel rooms. It's obviously a big push for us, just making sure we have the right rooms for all the performers that we have coming in to make sure they're lodged appropriately and they have good services while they're here to make sure that they come back, obviously, in the years to come with everything. But also rental cars, lanyards, volunteer T-shirts. There's literally a whole slew of things that I've had my eyes open to as far as all of the infrastructure and support that goes into pulling off something this large of an endeavor that we're going to throw off here in the next 2 weeks. But otherwise, that's mostly everything I have as far as the slide presentation is concerned. At this time, I'd like to open up to both the front of the room and also anyone behind as well. If you have questions, I'll kind of stand over here to the side. It's not the best setup to do for questions, but if anyone has questions, please let me know.
So, Rich, let me open it up to the council first. First, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
And then a big shout out to everybody at JBSA Randolph helping out with this, as well as you mentioned him before, Major Walt Williams from the city of Marion, who's been instrumental in setting up with the Northeast Partnership this air show, as well as he was instrumental in getting the Thunderbirds here, the
Yes,
Air
sir.
Force demo team. So, council, any questions for Major Smith? I know I have a question for you. When we
Sure.
want to go to the air show from the city of Garden Ridge, what is our best route to take traffic-wise, and where should we park?
So I'm going to bust out my crystal ball and hopefully predict all the traffic patterns, but we'll have the south gate will be open. We'll also have all the main gates open as well. For the general public, we're going to vector a lot of those folks through the east gate for the air show. Additionally, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 1518, but it's the side street that parallels the
Yep.
base on the east runway side. There's going to be another access point up there. We will open the west gate for DVs and performers, and then we'll also have the main gate open just for normal traffic as well, which for anyone attending the air show, we'll try and make sure we can vector them to the east gate and try
Right.
to alleviate as much traffic congestion as we can. We do expect 78 to be pretty well congested with everything, with the number of people we have. We'll also have the south gate open as well for Lower Seguin.
Okay.
That'll remain open for most of the day. The only time we have to shut it down will be when the Thunderbirds are going to perform, so we have to close that off. That'll be closed off, I think, about 30 minutes before they are slated to perform, so sometime in the mid-afternoon, depending on what the final show lineup looks like. And then we'll open that back up about 30 minutes after they complete their performance, so that way we can keep that avenue open as well.
So what you're saying with all that is go early and go
Yes.
down 3009
Yes.
to 78 to the east gate early, and you should be able to make it in, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
But if you go at showtime, Waze is going to tell you it's all blocked up everywhere you
We
go.
expect it to be pretty congested.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
with
big
everything.
show.
So it's, yeah.
And it's the same show both days, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Thanks for being here. I know it's a Wednesday night,
No,
you want to get
it's
home.
all good. It's good.
I will open it up to everybody here. Any questions for Major Smith and the air show? Yes, ma'am. Karen?
I didn't see on the slides the hours.
Okay, so for the hours, I believe we're going to have the gates open at 9 a.m. and then they'll close, I want to say at 5 p.m. The air show won't actually finish, I think, till about 6, right around there. We'll keep the area open. The actual aerial performances will conclude around 4 o'clock, right around there. But we'll just have the extra hours right there to people slowly start trickling out. And then if people just want to check out the static displays, we'll have those folks out there with everything. It should be on the website, which if we didn't pass it, it's just greattexasairshow.com. And it's got the countdown up there. It's got all the information listed. I don't know if that piece of it made the slides, but that's the website we've got as far as a branding piece. We hope to continue that with future air shows that we have here in San Antonio.
That's great. Great question, Karen. So the first part of our flight debrief would your card, add times, and and the website, right? It's a
Yep.
Air Force pilot joke, okay? Sorry, all right. Anything else from anybody out there? Okay, before you step down and leave, let me come shake your hand. I got to come to the podium anyway.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Appreciate you being here. Drive safely home. We'll see you out there, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. All right, continuing on, Ellie and Becca from the Crisis Center of Comal County. Can you guys come on up? We have some proclamations. April is Proclamation Month. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to read the proclamation and then the floor is yours. Proclamation. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual assault is widespread and has public health implications for communities, and statistics indicate that every 73 seconds an American is sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes that victim is a child. And we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors. And staff and volunteers of the Crisis Center of Comal County and other prevention-related programs in the area encourage every person to speak out when witnessing acts of violence, however small, and speak up when they hear others making light of sexual assault, stereotypes, and gender biases. And with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual assault in our community through prevention education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And we strongly support the efforts of national, state, and local partners, including residents, to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual assault is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual assault. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2022 in the city of Garden Ridge as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and urge residents to join the Crisis Center of Comal County in promoting healthy teen relationships, calling on youth and adults to observe Sexual Assault Awareness Month with activities and conversations about respectful and nonviolent relationships in their homes, schools, and communities. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and official seal of City of Garden Ridge this 6th day of April 2022. Thank you. That was for you guys. And Ellie, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself, and Becca.
Becca won't, but I will. I'm here for support. Becca's here for support, yes. So my name is Ellie Truon. I am the prevention specialist at the Crisis Center of Comal County. This is Becca Rioja. She actually runs our sexual assault program. I just do the speaking for the agency. As always, Council, thank you so much for allowing us to come here and for standing with us and offering your support. That's the thing that I'm going to focus on tonight. I know that sexual assault is something that people typically don't want to talk about or hear about. It's a really sensitive subject. It's a really intense subject. And I know it's something, too, that we don't really want to acknowledge is happening that often, but as you can see in the statistics, it is happening pretty often. So, as I said, focusing on support tonight. As many of you know with sexual assault, it doesn't just stop in that moment. Like, after that moment is done, there's so much more that a survivor has to go through and deal with. There are flashbacks. It is a lifetime of, it could be a smell, it could be a moment, it could be a sound, it could be lighting, it could be anything that takes them from their reality and places them back into that moment of what happened to them that day. So support can look very different. It can come in so many different forms, but one way is this right here, providing us a platform to where we can break that stigma of having these conversations, because being able to have these conversations is what allows survivors to speak up. It allows survivors to find resources. So what we're going to be doing this month is we are posting every Monday on our social media accounts. We're posting a different myth because there's a lot of myths that come along with sexual assault. And then that Friday, we're going to follow it up with facts. And so little ways that you can help and support survivors and support us is by going to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, reading those things and educating yourselves and educating the people around you, but also sharing those things so that you can educate everyone else in our community. Because again, for survivors, it's a lifetime of having to learn how to accept what has happened, how to heal from what has happened, and then how to grow from it too. But it takes a support system. So as always, thank you so much for allowing us to come here, giving us this platform, and helping us to support the people that we serve. We appreciate it.
Very welcome. Thank you, Ellie and Becca. Okay, item C, Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month proclamation. So the other members for this proclamation, please come forward. Now, I met both of you, but we didn't have a chance to meet yet. Rob Edwards, Council Supervisor. Rob, nice to meet you. Rob Harris. Hi, very nice to meet you, Rob. Susan, very nice to meet you. Okay, thank you for coming. Proclamation. Whereas there were more than 68,000 confirmed victims of child abuse and neglect in Texas during 2021, with 1,344 of those being children in Comal County. And child abuse prevention is a community responsibility, and finding solutions depends upon involvement among all people. And communities must make every effort to promote programs that benefit children and their families. And effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and encourage parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 22 in the city of Garden Ridge as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to work together to help reduce child abuse and neglect significantly in the years to come. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and official seal of City of Garden Ridge, the 6th day of April, 2022. So, who wants? All you. And the floor is yours for whoever wants to speak and for however long.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Erickson, and thank you, Council. My name is Lindsay Minna, and I am a parent educator with SJRC Texas and Belong. If you are not familiar with SJRC Texas or Belong, we are a residential foster care facility out in Bulverde. But we've also grown into more where we have our organization Belong. We work with 27 different counties in Region 8B. We have child placement agencies. And then most importantly, with both SJRC and Belong, we have our parenting and prevention program, which I am a parent educator in that program. We work with families in the community, either refer to us from either the Crisis Center or from Child Protective Services, or just members of the community that want that extra support, because we all know parenting takes a village. It is not easy. And so we offer free in-home parenting support, one-on-one, individualized for each family. Our services are entirely free of charge. We work with families prenatally all the way to 18. From 0 to 5 is our PAT program, and then after the child is older than 5, we have a care program. And we will follow and work with those children all the way up until age 18. We also have virtual support groups that we offer online, community events, and are always looking for ways to partner with the community, group parenting classes, working in the schools, whatever we can do to provide that support to our local families, because we really truly believe that prevention is key to helping these families and prevent child abuse. If you want more information on any of our upcoming events, how you can volunteer, if you're interested in becoming a foster parent, because we need so many of those in our community, you can go to sjrcbelong.org, and there's all of our information, links to our support groups, and also if you know anybody that wants free parenting support, you can get our information on there as well. Thank you all so much.
My name is Rob Edwards. I'm a casework supervisor with CASA of Central Texas, and I just wanted to open by saying thank you, Mayor Erickson and this distinguished council, for bringing light to something that we would all love to pretend didn't happen here in our backyard. Child abuse is something that happens everywhere, unfortunately. It happens right around the corner. We have clients that go to school across the street here at our elementary school, middle school, high school. This is something that does plague all of our communities, and so by bringing light to this, we are hoping to help reduce child abuse moving forward. Now, one great asset that we have as a program is our community resources. As a volunteer-run organization, we heavily rely on our community members to be the eyes and the ears for the children that we serve. We do extensive training and court observation for volunteer advocates that want to work with children that have been removed from their homes and are currently in Child Protective Services cases. They are then assigned to this one case involving either one child or multiple children, and they will see that case all the way through to the very end, whether that take a year, whether that take 7 or 8 years on some of our hardest cases. But they work to try and find permanency and safety for these kids. That is our #1 goal with CASA, is helping kids find safe and permanent loving homes. And again, thank you to this council. Thank you to the community of Garden Ridge. We do get a lot of support from Garden Ridge and its residents as our volunteer advocates. So again, thank you very much.
This is always a challenge for me. My name is Shannon Dixon, and I am the Director of Outreach at the Children's Advocacy Center. What the Advocacy Center does is we do some very specific pieces for children in Comal County who have had, excuse me, outcries of child abuse. We provide forensic interviews. This is where our law enforcement, our child protective services, our district attorney, and our staff at the CAC all come together to do the interview to capture the story of the child who's had an outcry of abuse. We also offer counseling services. We offer family advocate services for the non-offending care provider. And we also keep track of where the child is in the process, along with working with everyone here today. For the Advocacy Center in 2021, we saw close to 400 children in Comal County. And those were the reports that were made. I want you to think about the reports that were not. And the reason why we're here today and raising awareness for child abuse prevention is it takes a community to watch closely to those small signs that are happening in a child's life. Maybe they see something at school. Maybe you see something at church or in your neighborhood. In Texas, everyone is considered a mandated reporter if they're over 18. And I encourage you, as you go back out into the community tonight, number one, hold that number in your head, that there were 400 children in Comal County in 2021 who had forensic interviews. And secondly, I encourage you to consider how you can change that. I'm Shannon Dixon from the Children's Advocacy Center.
And special thanks for what all of you do with the last 2 proclamations. Thank you. Miss Linda, and any library staff and volunteers that are here, or is it just you tonight?
Our staff was unable to be here.
No worries. Thank you. Drive safely, please.
Yes, they do a noble thing.
I do. Another proclamation. Whereas libraries of all types are at the heart of their cities, towns, schools, and campuses serving their communities, and libraries are accessible, inclusive places that foster a sense of belonging and community with services extending far beyond the 4 walls of the building. That's true. And for people lacking access to a computer or broadband at home, libraries provide access to computers and Wi-Fi. And libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. And libraries offer opportunities for everyone to explore new worlds and become their best selves through access to technology, multimedia content, and educational programs. And in times of crises, libraries, librarians, and library workers play an invaluable role in supporting their communities, both in person and virtually. And to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. And libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. And libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 3rd through the 9th, 2022 in the city of Garden Ridge as National Library Week, and encourage all residents to visit their library both in person and online to access resources and services. Because of you, libraries transform lives and communities. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and official seal of the city of Garden Ridge on this 6th day of April, 2022. Ms. Linda, thank you
sir.
for what you do, and please, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Okay, I won't take very long. I just do want to thank the mayor and the city council for all your support, moral, financial, and you know, they even get their hands dirty helping us out at Trunk or Treat, and they are here for Veterans Day and so many things. It's greatly appreciated. I also have about 20 really faithful volunteers who give of their time every week, their energies, they just offer freely. And especially Wendy Bippert, who couldn't be here tonight. She's the best co-worker I could ever ask for, and I appreciate her personally as well as professionally. The theme for National Library Week is Connect with Your Library. It promotes the idea that libraries are places to get connected to technology, broadband, computers. We also offer opportunities to connect with media, programs, ideas, and classes, not just books. Most importantly, libraries also connect communities to each other. Overall, the theme is an explicit call to action, an invitation for communities to join, to visit, or advocate for your local library. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, citizen comment period. We have 2 individuals signed up. Mr. Ken Kniper, you're first on the list, sir. It's good to see you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, it's good to see y'all. Ken Kniper, 8891 Shanetal Road. I was asked last weekend to come and speak because I have information about the last bond that barely passed in Comal ISD. The elementary schools will be replaced by 2023. The new ones will be built. Currently, they're working on site construction. Contracts have been let. Architects have designed the buildings. Everything is there. This summer, all roof repairs will be done, including Garden Ridge Elementary. And all playground equipment is being ordered as we speak. And the last school to get a new playground will be Garden Ridge Elementary, because they're going to be their new elementary school that will relieve the overcrowding will be opened in August of 2023. So their playgrounds will wait until all of the portables are gone. If you don't like portables, watch who you vote for in the next school board meeting. I was at the last school board meeting, and the school board meeting actually took a little bit longer, because I think the first thing on the agenda is student recognition. It took almost 20 to 30 minutes to get all the students in. and one of our own from Garden Ridge High School, Davenport High School, and a resident of Trophy Oaks was recognized as being a participant she didn't win anything, but she was a swimmer in the state swimming meet held last year. So, thank you very much, and everybody have a great evening.
Thank you, Ken. All right, next is Marissa Driscoll. Please come forward, ma'am. And the mic is on. The floor is all yours. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I did not expect to speak today, so I'm not prepared completely, but I was just wanting to address a concern that I was having. As I'm sure as everybody's been following along about the fertilizer shortage, along with the pesticide and herbicides, and the shortages that we're having there, and the supply shortages that we're having just with other agricultural products. Also the avian flu that has been going around, and that how millions of chickens and other poultry have had to be put down. I was wanting to address maybe if there was something that the city could maybe help with, as I know that I guess y'all sponsor events. I'm not sure if y'all would consider sponsoring a family farm who is having problems maybe financially because of their fertilizer costs are very high, or their operating costs are very high, fuel costs are very high. So as we've been hearing in the news, obviously, that our food prices are going up. I wonder if maybe the city might consider a community garden. As we all know, the events that can possibly happen when you have a food shortage, and what all the outcome that may be. But mainly my concern is for the farmers, the local farmers, or even just the regular Texas farmers, because also I'm sure y'all are aware that we have drought conditions around the country. So once again, I mean, people may see about the wheat prices or talk about Ukraine and Russia with the wheat, but Texas also produces wheat as a wheat state as well. And our wheat crop is also affected as well because of the drought. So I was just wanting to present that to the City Council for consideration.
Thank you very much. We can't comment on that right now, but we appreciate your comments. Thank you so much. Okay, that concludes citizen comments with the two people we have signed up. So we'll move on to item number 5, the consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. So, council, do we have anything that you request to be pulled from the consent agenda for this month? I don't see anyone saying anything. So, if there is nothing to be pulled, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have 2 seconds. I think Jesse got there just underneath right at the tape. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda passes. On to item number 6, staff reports. City Administrator Monthly Activity Report. Nancy, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. The first thing I want to report on is provide you with the thank yous that the city has received. The first one comes from St. Jude's Ranch for Children. They are thanking the Garden Ridge Parks Committee for their generous donation of $550 that they received on February 10th, 2022. It was from the donation proceeds received from the 2021 Christmas ornament donations. They are saying that this contribution will help achieve their mission in providing healing, hope, and a home for children and their families. The second thank you that was received was to Chief Eberhart. It's from the Kerr County Animal Country Kickers Trail Riders. They are thanking Chief Eberhart and his officers for escorting them through the city while they were on their SALE trail ride back in February, I believe. Okay, the next thing we have is Shannon Del Toro, or it's going to be employee anniversaries. And the first, we have Shannon Del Toro for 8 years. Thank you for your dedication, Shannon. The next thing I have to report on is the volunteer Garden Ridge hours. The Parks Committee totaled 91 hours for the month of March. 75 of those hours were from Parks Committee volunteers. 16 were from individuals non-volunteers that were assisting the Parks Committee. The bill stuffers did 15 and a half hours. The library had 134 volunteer hours. Couple of more items that I want to announce is that Hanson Quarry will be having their mulch giveaway Saturday, April 16th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the top of Municipal Parkway. More information is available on our website concerning the mulch giveaway. And then on June 18th, Suzanne Kuntz Realty Group is going to sponsor another shred event for the city. That will occur on Saturday, June 18th from 10 to 2 at the Garden Ridge Community Center, and it is open to all Garden Ridge residents to have their documents shredded, and more information on what is acceptable and not acceptable for shredding is available on our city website as well as in the Grapevine. And I did not have anything else to report unless there's questions I can answer.
Thanks, Nancy. Council, any questions for Nancy? Okay. Awesome. On to item number 6B, our finance/HR monthly activity report. Karen Ford, floor is yours, ma'am.
Good evening. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention or to remind everyone that on this Friday and Saturday from 10 to 2, the City of Garden Ridge will be hosting a multi-city job fair. So we have 5 other cities that are going to participate with us. So if anybody is looking for a job or anybody who knows someone who's looking for a job, get the word out. It's going to be a great opportunity. That's all.
Thank you, Karen. Council, anything for Karen Ford? All right. Moving on to City Secretary monthly activity report. Marissa, ma'am, floor is yours.
Before we officially start my report, can I ask you to go to the podium with me? Sure. Thank you. And Nancy, would you also please go to the podium?
It was mayor directed.
Yeah, you could tell us all you want, but 20 years is a big deal, and we wanted to make sure that everyone knew how great you are and that you...
I didn't want everybody to know, because you'll already know.
So these are for you.
Thank you.
And Mayor
Those
also,
are beautiful.
Mayor also has something for you.
So, Ms. Nancy Kane, honoring 20 years of service, we thank you, April 2022. Can I give you a hug? You want some words?
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you.
Nancy?
Get in the middle. Photographer.
That's our communications specialist
Thank
at work.
you all.
Marissa, do you have any words?
No, I don't. She's like, I'm done.
So Nancy didn't want us to recognize her tonight because that's the kind of boss she is for the city staff and for all the city employees. Nancy, 20 years. We couldn't do this without you, without your knowledge, experience, professionalism, candor, your counsel that you provide all of us. We couldn't do this without you. And we look forward to 20 more years. So, thank you. Any words?
Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. You know, this is my life. Since 1979, I've been doing this, so it's in my blood. Thank you all. I love Garden Ridge. I love everybody, all the residents. I love council, past, present, staff, past and present. Thank you all so much. This is so serious. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa and Kat, for setting that up. Wonderful. All right, Chief, that's a hard act to follow, but actually, Marissa, do you have stuff to add? You follow your own act.
I do.
All right,
So
sorry.
in my report, there was just a couple things that I wanted to highlight. The first one is that we have an upcoming holiday. We're going to be closed on Friday, April 15th. Also, there is the food drive coming up, and so we are a donation station, and food can be dropped off here at City Hall during regular business hours from April 18th through April 29th. More information about that can be found in the Grapevine as well. And then just wanted to touch on the upcoming election. The May 7th City of Garden Ridge election, the sample ballot has been finalized, and it's available on the city's website on the elections page. And that election page also has the polling locations and hours. Comal County Elections Office also finalized those as well. So those can be found there. And then we will hold the official canvass on Wednesday, May 18th at 7 p.m. right here in the City Council chambers. And that is all I have.
Outstanding. Thanks. Council, anything from Marissa? Thanks again. Chief, still a tough act to follow. You're up, sir.
Thank you, sir. Most of the information is in my monthly report. I do want to emphasize, though, we have a CRAZE class coming up this month on April 16th. There's still spots available. They can call Jill over at the police department, sign up for that. The Citizen Response to Active Shooter event course. It's a really good course. And also we have Pizza with the Police on April the 20th. And that will be at 6 o'clock right here in these council rooms. Come on out. Most of the officers will be here. We had a good turnout last time. We'd like to see some more folks this time. There's no agendas on this. Just come out, have a good time. If you want to talk to any of the officers, chat them up. That's all I've got, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Council, anything for Chief Ron? Outstanding. On to Public Works. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The following are Public Works activities for March 2022. Monthly stormwater inspections were completed. 2 stormwater public outreach messages were displayed on the FM 2252 sign. Volunteers removed 118 pounds of trash from right-of-ways. We removed a dead tree from the Schoenthal right-of-way. We repaired 6 potholes, crack sealed 3 roads, and replaced 20 signs. Removed 6 trailer loads of damaged trees from Paul Davis Park. Added 2 new wireless microphones to the community center sound system. Removed 3 oak trees that were damaging the foundation next to the rental building at the former city complex properties. We currently have 2 dogs and 1 cat were transferred to another no-kill agency. We currently have 4 dogs in the city care with 1 ready for adoption. As a reminder, the trash dumpsters will be back in May, at the end, and those are located at the end of Municipal Parkway. And that concludes the Public Works portion of the report. Any questions?
Council, anything for Stephen for Public Works? All right, continue, please.
Utilities. We pumped 49.228 acre feet in March from the Edwards Aquifer, which leaves us with 535.35 acre feet available. We pumped 26.7 acre feet from the Trinity. Currently, Edwards Aquifer has been in stage 1 for the last 29 days, and as of today, the J17 monitoring well 10-day average is 651.7. If that drops below 650, Edwards will declare stage 2. All required sampling was done for the month, and all samples passed. For water loss was reduced from 11% last month to 5.9%. We believe that the leak that was found on Garden Ridge Drive was a large contributor to the elevated water loss in February. We were called out to a water leak at 9241 Garden Ridge Drive and discovered a puddle developing on the ground. After digging up the area, it was discovered that the water was coming from where a fire hydrant used to be and was removed when the new water mains were installed back in 2015. Water was leaking from somewhere on Garden Ridge Drive, and the water was filling up the old water main that was left in place until it could no longer hold anymore when it surfaced at 9241 Garden Ridge Drive. After searching Garden Ridge Drive, we discovered a leak about 1,900 feet away by using a highly sensitive listening device that detected a half-inch hole in a copper service line. After replacing the 100-foot of copper service line, the puddle of water 1,900 feet dried up. Automatic drafts were up to 682. AMI customer portals is 616. E-billing customers is 388. Total AMI notifications is 662. For abnormal usage is 195. I'll expand on these a little bit. This alert uses an algorithm to learn the usages and detect any unusual usage. It is very helpful for learning irrigation trends and recognizing them versus a leak in your system. Under continuous flow, we had 43 notifications went out. This is triggered by an algorithm which runs the H2O cloud platform. It gathers new data and compares it to old and determines uses out of the ordinary and alerts you. This alert can be set by the customer. For instance, they can set it for 1 gallon per hour in 24 hours. Usage trends, 67. This is triggered by an algorithm that runs once a day in the early morning hours. This model predicts the meter usage through the end of the period alerts and alerts if the usage is predicted to exceed the customer's defined threshold. That's all I have to report for utilities.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, anything for Stephen regarding utilities? Jesse?
Go ahead. Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Michelle, our billing clerk, because she's been incredibly helpful and knowledgeable about figuring out, because I'm in every single one of those 4, just adjusting and helping me adjust my my app and so on. But she's been incredibly helpful, and we kind of laugh about it, and she's making fun of me in front of Jesse too.
I just want to give a shout out to the group for doing a great job on identifying that leak. I think it's been like I said, reduced unaccountable, unsold water number. So great job there for the team. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that, Stephen. Way to go. Thanks for catching that leak. That's huge. Anything else?
No, sir.
Great. Outstanding. On to Miss Linda, Library Monthly Report. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Yes, please. Okay, if you'll indulge me just a few minutes, I won't take too long. At one time, Walter Cronkite was called the most trusted man in America, and I love what he has to say about libraries. Whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorant nation. And now some people may wonder why I'm here every month and why you need to know how many books we checked out or how many people came to Lego Robotics or adult coloring. And I think that most people look at the library, it's a good thing. It shows the city's interested in literacy and in education. We're likable and hey, everybody should have one, kind of like a family pet. And you may think that, like the family pet, I'm fetching a stick when I give you these statistics. And like all pets, we do love them, but they cost money, and that's all outgo, except for maybe that little warm, fuzzy feeling they give you. Please just don't hit me on the nose with a rolled-up newspaper, okay? So, a glance backward. From 2012 to 2021. Since it's National Library Week, I'd like to show you a couple of statistics. And by the way, I only have the statistics from 2012 because that's when we migrated from a dinosaur of a library operating system to what we have now. And I stopped at 2021 at the end because that was what I just filled out for the accreditation application. Okay, I think that's all I need. Okay, first of all, library visits. We have a really sophisticated system for counting library visits. It's called a pencil and tick marks on a paper, and we've ticked those marks 82,789 times since 2012, though the computer gives us a more accurate account of the physical items we've checked out in that. It's a little over 9 years. That's 184,562 physical items, books, movies, audiobooks. And then we've checked out 18,037 electronic items, and that's only been since 2018 when we obtained this consortium called Libby. But money talks. Now, according to Apollo, people who have used the library instead of buying their books and their movies and their audiobooks have saved $699,534.41. I don't know where the 41 cents came from. Since 2017, because they would only go back, I guess that's when they started giving us this information, so that's been a little over 3 years. By the way, Councilman McCaw, in the last 12 months, he has saved $1,150 by using the library instead of buying his audiobooks. Thank you, sir. However, since I could only go back to 2017, I decided I would take the number of items we checked out, remember, 184,562, and calculated it at $15 per book, which is very low, by the way, for a savings of, for the residents, $2,768,430. That's pretty good. We've further been able to save with electronic books for our citizens who use it. Now, I had to really guess here because people can obtain electronic books through different ways, through subscriptions or promotions, but we sort of estimated that we've saved people about $270,555 roughly since August of 2018. But there's more. Remember, we're more than just books. We've had activities since 2012. We've done 4,653 activities, classes, or programs, and we've had participants. 22,982 people have attended. Now, if you go to Lego Robotics at the school, they charge $145 for 6 classes, which we do for free. And those people have saved at least a minimum of $200,000. But wait, there's more. Grants. Grants help open up the world to our communities by assisting our budget-challenged libraries. when librarians and library staff develop amazing life-changing ideas, such as new STEM programs or outreaches, we turn to grants for funding. I've been very fortunate to obtain $96,673 for grants. I've bought different collections of books, furniture, and more technology. But wait, there's more. Volunteers. Ever since I've been here, which is 14, going on 15 years, the volunteers have donated between 2,200 and 2,300 hours per year. That went down a little bit during the pandemic, but even if we have just paid them minimum wage during that time, they have saved the city $200,000 at least. So, in case you're keeping score, those numbers I just gave you all add up to $3,535,658, and I suppose there's a 41 cents in there somewhere. Did we exceed your expectations? I hope you're a little bit surprised, because we're the little library that could. Do you have any questions about our statistics or our way of thinking?
Thank you, Ms. Linda. Council, any questions for our librarian? Comments? Lisa?
Just a comment. Love everything you do. And please keep us informed of what the library needs.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you so much.
John?
Yeah, I was just going to say that that library, it may be a little city library, but it's pretty awesome. I go there probably about once a week to either check out a audiobook, and I tell you, there's some really good audiobooks. I got one in the car right now, whether they're nonfiction, fiction, or whatever. If you haven't been there, just go once. I can almost guarantee you'll get hooked on it.
Oh, I appreciate those words.
Thanks, John. Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay.
Be thinking about what you'd like for your 20th.
I've been thinking. Thank you. Are we good?
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Linda. Okay, that concludes staff reports. On to item number 7, city engineer project status reports. Our city engineer, Sam, isn't here tonight, so Nancy, do you have the report for us?
Yes, sir. Tri-Hydro is working on the design of the water line relocation along FM 2252. TxDOT has updated their schematics for the extension of that project through the intersection of 2252 and 3009, as well as the drainage design that they will be doing in that intersection. And Tri-Hydro is now able and in the process of designing the water line relocation at that intersection. There are a couple of land development projects that the city engineer's office has been involved in reviewing. Council will see them probably within the next few months. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Council, anything for Nancy regarding our engineers? Okay. That concludes item number 7. On to item number 8, city commission and committee reports, recommendations, and possible actions. 8A, Planning and Zoning Commission. Receive recommendation regarding petition by Sean M. Willis on behalf of Pension Mark, San Antonio, for the issuance of a special use permit for Phase 1 for construction and operation of a one-story, 11,725 square foot office and retail building with associated sidewalks, parking spaces, driveways, and detention pond on property zoned neighborhood services, B1, located at 19243 FM 2252 Garden Ridge, Texas, further described as a 4.23 acre tract of land lying in section 96, abstract 120 of the George M. Dolson Survey, Comal County, Texas, being all of a remaining portion of a 4.402 acre tract of land described by Vaquero Grande LLC, a Texas limited liability company, recorded in document 20190602843 of the official public records of Comal County. The property is further located on the east side of FM 2252, across from Hickory Bend in Garden Ridge, Texas. I will invite the chair. Hi, Karen, you're already there. I've been looking down the whole time. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, Sean Willis presented a petition on behalf of PensionMark for the issuance of this special use permit for Phase 1 of the PensionMark Office Center development. We held a public hearing, and we had no one signed up to speak, and Marissa received no comments, written comments. So after a public hearing was closed, the commission proceeded to discuss the petition, and Sean Willis addressed questions from the commission, after which P&Z made a motion and voted to unanimously to send to council an approval of the petition by PensionMark. So that's where we are at this point, and I will turn it over to you for your public hearing.
Thank you, Karen. Before we open the public hearing, Mr. Willis, Sean, would you like to come up and present anything to us or any comments? Good to go? Nothing that hasn't been said before a few times. Okay, on to 1.1, we'll hold a public hearing. We will open the public hearing at 7:03. You are not required to sign up to speak, but if you do, please sign in with the city secretary after speaking. You are limited to 1 3-minute period, and if you have submitted a written comment but choose to speak, then your written comment will not be also read. And please state your name and address before your comments begin. Anybody have any comments for the public hearing? I'll take that as a no. Marissa, did you receive any written comments?
I received one written comment. It is from Ravi Sahota with Sahota Holdings LLC out of San Antonio. I'm the managing member of property number 7 on the attachment 4 you had mailed. I am in support of this proposed special use permit.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, we will close the public hearing at 7:04 p.m. and move on to item number 1.2, discuss and take action on the recommendation. So I will open it up to council. Do you have any questions about what's before you? And if so, any questions? Nothing? Okay. If no questions, may I have a motion?
Move to approve the recommendation.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second to approve the recommendation. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The recommendation passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, Karen, you're still on. Receive recommendation regarding the appointment of Mr. Darren Bates to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Place 7, with the term expiring September 30th, 2022. Ma'am, the floor is still yours.
Thank you. And the commission voted to recommend Darren Bates to fill this, to fill Place 7. And if you'd like, Mr. Bates is available for any questions you may have that may not have been in the packet you received. If not, we recommend Mr. Bates be approved to fill that vacancy.
Thank you, Karen. Council, I'll open it to you. Do you have any questions for Karen or for Mr. Bates? Okay, if no questions, then may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Bates to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
We have a motion to approve for Mr. Bates for Planning and Zoning Commission, Place 7. Do we have a second?
I second the motion to appoint Mr. Bates.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Bates, and welcome to Planning and Zoning. It's good to have you. Thank you for your volunteerism. All right, Karen, floor is still yours.
Okay, so the next item we have was the draft ordinance. And the commission, we also held a public hearing for this. And we got several comments from residents, and I believe one written comment was submitted. After the public hearing, the commission discussed comments and questions, and we actually reversed one of the items that had been submitted in February. And so a motion was made to go back to change the maximum impervious cover for residential estates from 50% back to 35% in the draft ordinance, consistent with the current ordinance 13. And that was passed unanimously. No, that was passed 4-1, sorry. And so that's where we are right now, and now the ordinance has been presented or passed on to you by the commission, and that's what was unanimous. It was unanimous to pass it on now to you. And if you have any questions for me on that, I'd be glad to entertain them.
Council, before I continue, do you have any questions for Karen? Okay, excellent. You know via contact with our city administrator, Nancy Kane, as well as in your packet, that we plan to not take any action on this tonight. What we are going to do is have a council work session on Wednesday, the 5th or the 25th of May at 1 p.m. here in council chambers to work on that. So we're ready to go in July on our regular council meeting, the 13th of July, Wednesday night, for a public hearing and our action that evening. Any questions regarding that? Comments? Okay. Karen, you're still on with your monthly update. Anything else?
Actually, that is all I have
Okay.
at this time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your hard work. Okay, on to item number 8B1, receive monthly activity report and update from the Quarry Commission. Do we have anybody from the Quarry Commission? Jerry, are you out there? Okay, so they did have a meeting last month that lasted for 21 minutes. So that's all I have to report. Very thorough, and off we go. Now on to the Water Commission. Mr. Mueller, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our first item that you see there is receive a recommendation regarding the amount of transferable water rights for the proposed Overman development. The paperwork for all of that is inside your packets. It's pages 231 through 233. You'll notice on the request there, it talks about 21.39 acre feet. I'm not sure how many of you got to see the Water Commission, but as we went through there, when we looked at the table that's on page 233, you have 6 1.5-inch lines that were going into there, which actually calculates out to 30 LUEs. Then we did all the math and we checked it and we triple checked it. And the actual number that we came up with was 18.99 acre feet for recommended transferable water rights for the Overman project. That is what was discussed at the Water Commission and recommended on a 4-0 vote. So the recommendation is to approve, or I'm sorry, the recommendation is for 18.99 acre feet of transferable water rights for the proposed Overman development. So Mayor Erickson, back to you for questions and action.
Thank you, Jim. So council, one of the things that we are doing as a city is researching this with transferable water rights so that we fully understand the scope and severity of the lack of being able to get water rights in Comal County and the surrounding area. We have our city councilor, along with Bryce Cox, a colleague of hers, that is researching that issue along with other of his colleagues to make sure they come to us with the best information available so that we can make an informed and proper decision to get this right. So Nancy, anything further to add on that? So what I would like to do, what I would propose is that we table this for this month until we can get that information from Mr. Bryce Cox through our counsel or through our attorney, so that we can make the best and most informed decision for Mr. Overman and the city of Garden Ridge and fully understand the issue that's out there. Do we need a motion or consensus? Will that suffice? Okay. Before we get to a motion, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding what we just talked about? Okay, if you agree, can we get a motion to table this until we have more information, hopefully till next month?
I make a motion to table this topic till next month, or till we get more information on transfer of water rights and any consideration by the Water Commission.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to table this till next month, and when we receive more information, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Mueller, we're going to table this until next month.
No problem. Okay, item 2, the monthly activity report. First, I'd like to do a little public service announcement on the AMI system that's out there. I'm sure people have heard me talk about this before. I've had a couple alerts myself in the last few months, including one actually that just happened yesterday, I believe. One of them, I just want to bring this up to show the kind of the power of the AMI system that's out there. There's 4 different alerts. One of those was I had a power outage at my house, and it messed up my sprinkler programming. And when it went out there and it watered my lawn more than it had in the previous few months, I got an alert for unusual water usage. Looked it up on the system, found it, and went and fixed it. Previous to the system being there, there's probably no telling how long that would have ran, because I water my lawn in the morning pretty early. The other one was this one that just happened yesterday. I'd actually been doing some work in the backyard, and I didn't get the faucet closed all the way. I had a spigot on there, so it wasn't like the hose was running, but it was dripping just a little bit. And it noticed that slight drip over the course of a number of hours. Maximum drip that was going on there was probably about 2 gallons an hour overnight. Noticed all that, reported it to me. And then I called my wife and made her run around and check all the toilets and all the water spigots until she finally found the leak while we were on the phone. But we found it, and we wouldn't have known about it for a long time without the AMI system. So a little public service announcement for you. For the monthly activity report, the only other thing that I'd like to bring up from the commission, we spent a large amount of time in our last commission meeting talking about our leak adjustment procedures. Because of the power of the AMI system that's out there, and just a review of leak adjustment procedures for cities around us and cities our size, we're recommending some changes. We came up with a lot of things that were in there. As we detailed all this stuff, it's a pretty substantial change. And the city staff asked for some time to review and to get some legal review before we took any action on these. So hopefully we'll get to those at our meeting this month, which is scheduled for Tuesday, April 19th, 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Any questions?
Council, anything for Chairman Mueller? Thank you. I've got a few AMI saves, glove saves myself, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good to see you. Okay, on to wildlife. The Wildlife Management Advisory Commission did not meet in March, so there's no update at this time, which brings us to our Parks Committee. Mr. Rod Chamberlain, sir. No, you're very, very busy getting ready for the 4th. The floor is yours.
There we go. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity. My stats only go back to the 1st of March of this year, so I will be brief, okay? We had 91 volunteer hours under the control of the Parks Committee. 75 were within the committee, and 16 were from volunteers outside of the committee. Our last meeting was held on March 9th. Our next meeting is going to be held on Wednesday, March the 13th. And as far as what we're working on is the baseball diamond. If you haven't been out to Paul Davis Park lately, look at the baseball diamond. The Public Works has done a phenomenal job putting that together and making it really look nice. And we actually have it rented out for, I think, about a 10, 14-week time period with one tenant, I think from January to May, which I think is fantastic. And we're going to continue to improve the baseball diamond as we go forward. Other improvements are being done as well throughout the park as we continue to work with Public Works. Pretty much that's it. We are starting to actually continue working on the 4th of July as we go forward. You'll hear more from us as the months go by from that area. You have any questions, Mr. Mayor or Council?
No, sir, I don't. Anybody have questions for Rod? I know you and the entire Parks Committee and all your volunteers are working really hard, Rod, so thanks. It's going to be a wonderful celebration.
We did have a meeting with Nancy Kane yesterday, pulled everything together and got a good tight fit between the 4th of July and the 50th anniversary. So that was good from that side too. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, that concludes item number 8. Before we get into item number 9, approvals and authorizations, what we're going to do, council, is recess for 5 minutes to take a quick break, and then we will reconvene in executive session in the conference room behind us. Everybody is welcome to stay here because we're going to go back there. And then as soon as we're done in executive session, we'll come back out here and reconvene in executive session. So the regular city council meeting is recessed at 7:17 p.m. Thanks. Okay, council, we're going to reconvene after our recess. And now we are going to break. We're reconvened at 7:25. And now we will break for an executive session in the room behind us to seek legal advice from our city attorney. So we are going to go into recess for executive session now at 7:25, and we'll all go back in the back room. Thank you. And again, everybody is welcome to stay. Reconvene in regular session at 8:09 p.m. And open up agenda item number 9, approvals and authorizations. The following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. To be clear, council, what your job now is moving into the Zoning Board of Adjustment section of the agenda, and how the City Council is acting in their official capacity as a Zoning Board of Adjustment for the first 2 items we're going to talk about. So item number 9A, petition by Michael Dumgart for a variance to ordinance number 13-12, 2018, Section 5, Residential 5.1.2.5.2, to allow, this is what's written, a 54% impervious cover limit on property located at 9620 Trophy Oaks Drive for the construction of a pool with outdoor kitchen, pool house, and garage/shop. The .8180 acre property is further known as Lot 38, Block 2, Trophy Oaks Subdivision, Garden Ridge, Texas. Impervious cover limit in single-family dwelling residential district is 35% of the lot area. So, Mr. Dumgard, I don't know if you are present, but the attorney is. Sir, please come up and... Do you have a presentation for us tonight, sir? or-
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Erickson, council members. I'm Rob Killen. Hey, there we go. Can you hear me? Hi, thank you, Mayor Erickson, council members. My name is Rob Killen with law firm Killen, Griffin, and Fairmont. Our address is 10101 Reunion Place in San Antonio. Here on behalf of Mike Domgard, who is the owner of the property. Mike is not here tonight. His daughter is being inducted into the National Junior Honor Society. And so he said, I'd really like to be at the induction ceremony. So I apologize that he couldn't be here, but I told him family comes first. So, but he sent me, and you're going to have to bear with me tonight. But first of all, I want to thank you for giving the opportunity to come back. We were here a month ago, talked through this, presented our request. You had lots of great feedback. We listened to it very closely, and then went back and watched the tape a couple more times to make sure that we understood the feedback and the questions that the council was asking, so we come back and present to you a revised plan and a reduced request for a variance, which hopefully matches up with what I think y'all were looking for last time. So just to remind you, the property's on Trophy Oak, just a few minutes south of here. There's the property. As you noted, 35% maximum impervious cover based on the residential zoning. So our original request, as is noted on the agenda, was for a 54% impervious cover, so a variance to take us from 35% up to 54%. The comments that we heard was, well, that's great. Even if you have a right to have a swimming pool, that's a little excessive. What can you do? Can you come back and revise the plan? And in a minute, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to invite up Brittany Chenoweth, who is with Fossil Creek Pools. And then after she speaks, I'm going to invite up Taylor Allen, who is a civil engineer with WGI, and let them talk about the revised plan. So you don't have to listen to a lawyer for too long, hopefully. So what we're doing is they went back, they sharpened pencils, retooled the plan, and now with the new plan that you'll see in just a few minutes, it's 45%. It's actually 44.88% impervious cover, which Taylor will talk about in his presentation. So we're asking for 45% impervious cover. What we did last time, before this was tabled and continued to tonight, is I went through the 9 criteria. What I'm going to do is, because we went through this last time, unless council would ask me to do this, and I can do this now or do this later, what I'd like to do is, since we went through these criteria and addressed each of these points, what I'd like to do is move forward and talk about the revised plan. So if you don't mind, we can go back to any of these points and answer any specific questions that you have on the 9 criteria, but I think it's probably more efficient and respectful of your time just to move on to really what were the open questions as of the last meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward through my 273 slides on all the legal stuff and get to what I think you're most interested in, and that is, what does the revised plan look like? There really are a lot of slides. So again, we can go back to any of these issues if you're interested. Lots of slides. So again, we're here on March 2nd, got lots of feedback. And what Mr. Domgard did was first thing he did after our last meeting is he contacted Fossil Creek as the pool designer and said, look, here's the feedback we got from council. What can we do to shrink that area of impervious cover? What can we do to reduce that footprint of the pool? It's got the little covered outdoor kitchen. What can we do? So Brittany? So Brittany Chenoweth is with Fossil Creek Pools, and I'm going to let her present. She's got 3 slides. She's going to talk about the process they went through and the redesign, give you a better sense of what that looks like. And so Brittany, so here's the control. You just press this button and move forward. And then say your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Chenoweth.
address 12470 US Highway 281 North, Spring Branch, Texas 78070. Again, my name is Brittany Chenoweth. I am with Fossil Creek Pools, representing, I'm actually the one who did the design for Mr. Domgard. Fossil Creek, our business has been in business for 15 years. We've built nearly 500 pools. Mr. Domgard approached us last year about building a pool. I assisted him through the design process, and once everything was agreed upon, I assisted him in submitting documentation to his HOA, getting him that plot survey, which you see there, and then moving forward to design construction plans and get that submitted to the city of Garden Ridge. It was at that time that we discovered that his home and driveway alone is over 35%, and that a variance would be required. After that, we talked to Mr. Domgard about that. He came to the hearing last month, which brings us to this month. After the committee's review and notes to him, he called me the following day and asked if we could reduce the project to meet your guys' guidelines. We did that. We reduced the overall square footage of the project from originally 3,543 square feet total. That includes all impervious coverage for the scope of this project. We reduced that down to 2,356 square feet total, which the design scope that you see, the plan that's not on the survey, that is the 1/8 scale image of the proposed pool design. So it was a nearly 30% decrease. In my professional opinion, this pool design is very typical and normal for what we do in this area, what we do majority of the time in what we're building for our other clients. There's definitely nothing outside the realm of what we build on a very regular basis. This design, the scope of the design, and certain design elements in this pool are very normal for hill country area, natural style pools, things like that. Do you have any questions for me?
Council, any questions for Ms. Chenoweth?
Oh, there were some other slides I forgot to go to. Yes, sir.
You said this is a very normal design for your other clients. Do they have to get variances also?
No, this is the first time we've ever had to get a variance.
Okay.
This just shows kind of the scope of some other jobs that we've done.
Council, any questions?
Yes.
Please.
Yes, I don't believe we're discussing the design. I don't believe we're discussing, the quality of your work, which appears to be very lovely. This is whether this fits in this spot.
Right. I think based off of the layout of his lot, I mean, you can see in the photo of the pool on his actual property, we're well within the guidelines of property easements. His house is sat pretty far back on his lot, so, I've been out there numerous times. Based on the layout of his lot, this is the best design, location for the pool. He still has a ton of yard, even outside of this, the realm of this pool.
Well, again, the design may be lovely and so on, but he has what might be considered a smaller yard, particularly for the size of the home, and it does impact our city requirements. I mean, so again, it's not whether it's as lovely as the next door neighbors or one of the prettiest you've done or whatever, and I also don't see any effort to downsize the pool itself. It seems as though you've trimmed the exterior, and I'm just wondering if maybe modifications couldn't be made to downsize the whole project to be in compliance.
Well, we did make a pretty substantial reduction to the entire project.
I do see that, from 3,500 to 2,300 square feet.
Right.
But I guess I missed the point. Are you actually making the pool itself smaller?
Yes, that would, then those numbers there are just an indicator of the entire impervious coverage limit. So instead of, breaking down every individual item, I felt it was more relevant to the committee to show on a larger scale, since that's what's in question here is the impervious limit.
Impervious limit for the whole property?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Brittany, to follow up with Kay's question, what part of the pool did you shrink down, if you will? Because as I look at the original plans and I look at the current plans, the dimensions to me of the pool itself look the same. You just reduced the surrounding deck and where it abuts up to the house.
Well, we made some reductions on the back side of the pool where the water feature is going to be. There's a significant amount of cement, steel reinforcement, and, other things that are required to be there to make sure that it is structurally sound. So there were some reductions made there. We made some significant reductions to the kitchen, bringing that in, as well as redesigning the spa to move that forward, to bring that in on the property as well. As far as the specifics of, where Mr. Domgaard wanted to make, reductions, I'm at his mercy there. However, we did give our advice. There is a slide here. Because there's a slide there, we have certain safety features that we have to be so far away, that wall has to be so far away so that people don't get injured coming off of that slide. It's not, in my professional opinion, that would be a safe thing to make that area smaller. That would, it could cause injury.
Thank you for that answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, just curious, how many gallons is the pool? I'm trying to visualize the size.
Right.
Other
I
than
would
just-
say this is going to be probably right around 35,000 gallons.
And what's the average pool size?
Average pool size, it's kind of a relative term, but it's about 15 by 30, which would be anywhere from 15, 20,000 gallons.
Okay, so 15 to 20,000 gallons is average.
That's,
Yeah,
yes.
my research said same, about 18 to 20,000 gallons. I was reading, but I wanted to talk to somebody who knew better than me. And you said this is going to be like 35,000 gallons?
I would say this
Okay.
size is about 35,000 gallons. Mind you, you do have to take into effect the features that are involved here. With a slide, again, we do have,
Yeah, you've gotta have
we've got
deeper-
limits there.
Yeah,
Same with the water feature there, we've got to have limits for safety.
Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely.
Council, any other questions for Brittany? Thank you. It's obvious that you and Fossil Creek design and build beautiful pools.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
I'm next going to invite up Taylor Allen. Taylor is a civil engineer with WGI. He's going to talk about the impervious cover. One thing I'd like to point out, though, is that, and Taylor will discuss this in his presentation, is that when Mr. Domgaard bought the property with the existing home, it already exceeded that 35%. The only way to put a pool in is with a variance. So, Taylor?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Taylor Allen.
Good evening.
What's that? With WGI, I'm a civil engineer. I manage our land development teams here in our San Antonio office. And so, as Rob mentioned, they asked for us to just provide an impervious cover analysis for the property. So the exhibit that y'all have there is utilizing the survey that was provided of the existing improvements and then overlaid the revised pool plan there in the rear so we could calculate both the existing and proposed impervious cover calculations. So the smaller table to the bottom right shows two columns, one with existing, which would be the house and driveway essentially, and then the proposed with the pool addition in the back. As Rob mentioned, the existing conditions puts them right over that 35% impervious as it is. With the addition of the pool area, it pushes it to that 44.88%. impervious cover. A few notes on that from the topographic information that was available. This site generally goes from, if you're looking at the plan sheet, left to right. And so where these improvements are still is about 37 feet from the neighboring property line, so it doesn't exceed the plane of the house. So similar to, any gutters that might be coming down from the existing home, the improvements here have that same distance from the neighboring property line to dissipate, slow down, spread out across the lawn to minimize potential impacts, which is usually what the biggest concern with drainage and impervious cover would be. So happy to answer any questions on any of that.
Council, any questions for Taylor Allen? Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
So Mayor, council members, what I'd like to do is, by the way, let me go ahead and advance this slide. So Taylor, this is just a blow up of it so you can see it's very, very small print. If you were like me, I was sitting in the back squinting at what Taylor had up there. But this is the breakdown. So you can see the existing percentage of impervious cover is 36.87%. Proposed is 44.88%. I would, again, without having to go back to everything that we talked about last time, I would remind the council, and I can go back to that, look at the criteria. There's significant case law on swimming pools and tennis courts where the courts have overwhelmingly upheld variances to allow for swimming pools. In this case, we can't get a swimming pool on the site without the variance. So it's not a question of redesign. There's no way we could redesign this, that we could fit in, get the swimming pool in there without the variance. And so I think that's critically important. This is information that we did not present last time because we didn't have Taylor's analysis. Now that we have it, again, this is something I would just call to your attention. I will go back. I hate to get into the weeds, but I'm a lawyer, that's what I get paid for. Another case I didn't cite to you when we were talking about last time, this is a 2018 case, Vogler. The Vodices they collected antique cars, and they needed to build a carport for their antique cars to protect them from the weather. And so they had to encroach into the setback. They went to the court said, they went to Board of Adjustment said yes, went up on appeal, some neighbor didn't like it. And the Vogler court said, the fact that they have these cars, they want to protect them, it's not a self-imposed hardship any more than the construction of a swimming pool or a tennis court. Again, this has been pretty consistent in the case law with tennis courts and swimming pools. You have a right to recreate in your backyard. The only way Mr. Domgaard can have a swimming pool is through the variance. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Killam. Council, questions before we open it up for our own discussion? Okay.
Yes, sir. Has Mr. Domgaard, considered modifying his driveway in such a way that it becomes pervious cover? This might not be an issue, as long as it's not in a setback.
Has he? He'd have to do that analysis. Can't speak to that.
I just asked if he had.
So if your question is, could he tear up some existing impervious cover? The answer is yes. That would be the case, I think. I don't know the square footage of his driveway. Could he remove enough to accommodate the pool? What does that mean for his ability to park his car? And it's kind of interesting because we've got a car case right here. So I'm not sure if that's a reasonable solution, but without the numbers, I don't know.
It's a potential, and I doubt that this would eliminate. I'm not suggesting eliminate a driveway, of course. I'm just asking the question. It is a bit of a smaller lot for that size home.
I appreciate that. And that's that's all the case law on what they call a self-created hardship, right? We talked about that last time. Is that he bought into the property, and the house was there. The lot was developed in 1997, long before he bought it. So, it's kind of an existing issue for him. So, the size of the lot is outside his control. I've got case law on that too, if you're interested.
Well, there is buyer beware.
And that's why, of course, we've got the variance process, so we can go and present and talk about these things.
Council, any other questions? Thank you, sir. We're going to start discussing. Okay, just for the record, no public hearing will be held tonight on this because we already conducted one in March. And that's when we asked Mr. Dumgart and council to come back with the impervious cover required just for the pool. And they have followed through with that request. So we'll move on to 9A1, discuss and take possible action on the variance. So council, I open up to you for discussion. Don't jump over each other. Go ahead.
Well, I'll start it off. They're requesting 54%.
So it's actually 45% is what they're requesting now. That's the request is what was originally presented to planning and zoning and then the council for the original request for impervious cover. And then based on our motion and desire last month.
So we can change this from 54 to 45?
It's 45%.
Okay.
Lisa, comments?
You know, while I appreciate the dilemma, I am really inclined to stick with our current percentage in our ordinances, in our ordinance, 35%.
Okay, thank you. Jesse?
Okay, as, was presented earlier with Planning and Zoning Commission, they went through the draft orders this last time they had a public hearing. They did revise that part in the proposed zoning ordinance back to 35, so that 50% no longer there. So they did talked about possibly doing some more research on it to see what the issues are there. It's been there for 20-plus years. And as council, unless they come back with a reason that says we can go above 35%, I'm with them right now, with the ordinance.
Thank you, Jesse. Todd?
I always try to be the guy that thinks outside the box a little bit, and that's where I'm going to go with this right here. Kay brought it up a little bit initially, and I'll admit to it, I've got a laptop back here, and I'm looking for data on stuff. I've got a picture of the property up back here. Admittedly, there's additional expense to this, but if a portion of that driveway is turned into permeable cover, you won't even have to come back and see us. There's a lot of driveway space, and just eyeballing it over what's the proposed size of the pool, they appear to be very similar in size. It solves the problem. It's an expense, it solves the problem. The pool can go in, there's no need for a variance on the impervious cover, and then the problem's solved that way. Just kind of my thought. I do worry about precedent setting to you pave everything over. There's that whole song about something about paradise, and you paved over paradise and put it in a parking lot. This isn't a parking lot, it's a beautiful pool. And it is very nice. If the pictures are if it's half as nice as the pictures show, it's a nice pool. But I think there's a solution here that works for everybody, and that's to look at the driveway. There's a lot of driveway there. If you take that, you don't even have to lose parking spaces. You take it down to a permeable driveway. They could do it with paver stones. There's all kinds of different things available. It took me 15 seconds online to find 50 different options. Solves the problem.
Let me just piggyback on that and say that there are some other businesses that have replaced part of their driveway with permeable, their parking area, and to meet the variance request, to meet the ordinance, so.
Thank you, Todd. Kay?
Well, to go back to what Todd said, actually, we can't obviously promise that would be the solution, because there still is a permitting process, of course, concerns about setbacks and so on. But I respect the law that we've had in place, I respect the research and the time primarily because I've been intimately involved with it for 15 years or more. I'm aware of the character of the city and the need to maintain, you know, the character and what we've established here. And I think that allowing a 45% impervious cover for one individual defeats the purpose of the law. I don't think it's in the character of what we've tried to achieve.
Thank you, Kay. Any other discussion? If there's no further discussion, go ahead, please.
Green, yes. So I will remind council that, you know, the decision on the variance has to be, you know, made on the actual requirements of the local government code, and that's part of your variance flow sheet. Those are the determining factors for a variance. So you need to look at those closely, you know, in making your decision.
Thank you, Cynthia. Before we continue, Nancy, do you have anything to add as the city administrator?
No, sir.
Okay. So as we go through our request for variance checklist, if you will, I know that Mr. Dumgart's attorney, Mr. Killen, answered all of those for us, but there's a couple of items that perhaps are up for discussion there. And let me get to the spot here. Were the unique circumstances created by the owner of the property? Obviously, Mr. Dumgart and his counsel come back with no. And you restated that earlier, that the property was platted in 1997 and built long ago. Well, yes, that is true, but Mr. Dumgart is now the owner of the property, knowing full well, or should know full well, what the ordinance 13 is with planning and zoning, and that it's a 35% impervious cover. When he bought the land, it's not his fault that the house is big on that property for the size of the lot, and it's not his fault that there is a very large driveway and impervious cover area for parking. However, I would say that rather than no, I'd argue that, well, yes, because the previous owner built that, but he bought the house and he knows that. So I would not necessarily agree that that's a no. That could be a yes, and if that's a yes, then we would deny that ordinance or deny the request for variance. I have a couple other thoughts on this as the mayor, and I don't have a vote tonight unless there was a tie, and there won't be a tie. So I'm with you on standing firm with our 35% impervious cover. It stood the test of time. This is our first request for variance for residential impervious cover of 35% that we know of in our history, both recorded and 20 years of knowledge being here. So the precedence that we would set by granting a 45% variance request, 10% over what it currently is now, and 10% what the draft ordinance is, that sets a precedence that I would caution us on setting as a city. Because then the next variance that comes in, request for variance, that's less than 10% over the 35% impervious cover, unless there were extenuating circumstances or a different lot or different contour, we would have a hard time denying that request for variance. Over time, does that affect the look and the feel of Garden Ridge? Perhaps, with 45% overall. At the same time, he's already at 36%, which again is, he's the owner of the house now. do we, by denying this request outright, does he have an argument that, hey, you're denying me a swimming pool? So I caution us with that. And I think we need to take that into consideration, and I'm sure you already have. Perhaps there's something else we can do with a little bit less than 10% at 45% that we could discuss or not.
Well, you only covered one of those inquiries. I'll look up the seventh one, which is, will the variance substantially weaken the general purpose of the ordinance or the regulation established for the specific district? In that case, again, was presented that it was no, because the draft ordinance at that time was 50%. It's since then been going back to 35%. So I stayed back on that. That's one of the reasons I said. So in that case, it would be yes again, deny variance. And the last one is the variance contrary to public interest. At the last public hearing last month here, we had one comment, against this request. And during the public hearing for the zoning ordinance, there was at least multiple residents that were against changing going from 35% to 50. They all wanted to go stay with 35%. So again, public interest has spoken already.
Thank you, Jesse. That's a good discussion. Anybody else? No? Cynthia, anything else that we're missing as our city attorney?
No, sir. Like I said, all I can re-urge is that we, follow the legal requirements for consideration of a variance.
Okay, so we have 3 of those that looks like that we disagree with. So we're clear to move on, discussion-wise?
Yes, sir, if y'all want to continue with discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion, council? Based on our inputs, if there's no further discussion, do I have a motion?
I move to deny the variance request.
We have a motion to deny the variance request.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny the variance request. Is there any further discussion on this motion? I will call it to a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion to deny the variance request passes. Okay. Then we're moving on to item number 9B. This is a petition by Ralph and Viola Bradley for a variance to ordinance number 13-12, 2018, Section 5, Residential, 5.1.7.2.4.2, side yards, interior lots, to allow an encroachment of an existing shed 10 feet into the 15-foot side yard setback along the southeast property line of the property at 19808 Regency Run, further known as Lot 2, Block 1, Regency Oaks Subdivision, Unit 1. With that, I would like to, before we hold a public hearing, invite the 2 of you up to speak and give us your presentation. If you wouldn't mind turning on the microphone with the red button there. There you go. Thank you, and thank you for coming, and you're welcome to be here.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Viola Bradley. This is my husband, Ralph. First off, well, I don't have any slides. I didn't know we were supposed to provide. I don't have any slides. Didn't know we were supposed to provide slides. We have, I have pictures and I have letters from my
So we
neighbors.
do have in our council packets everything that you presented to the city.
Okay.
So I think what we're looking for here, ma'am, is to state your case, please.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, first off, say thank you for having us here. And I'm the villain at fault because I'm retired now and he works, so I'm home all the time, so. Back in 2020, we needed a shed. We had needed a shed pretty bad. I came and got, I think it was October of 2020, came and got a permit to have a shed built. And the guys came and they built the shed, and about a year later, we got an inspection. I got a knock on the door from Mr. Wilbert, and he said that the shed was not in regulation. And he said that we needed a variant, didn't know what a variant was, so came up and got information about a variant. During that time, the builder of the shed, we contacted him, and of course, well, I couldn't get in contact with him. He wouldn't answer my calls back. I had felt that he, in all honesty, had built the shed to the right specifications and the right setback or whatever. I think one side is not set back the right from the land line, the fence line, yes. So got all the paperwork together for the variant, made the payment for the variant, and here we are. We do have letters from our neighbors that states that they have no problem with the way the shed is, where the shed is located. We have pictures. I took pictures of the shed. I don't know if the pictures are up there or not.
Yes, ma'am, we have the pictures.
Right before we, after we got the permit, we didn't know whether we were gonna put the shed on a slab, or like some people have it on like I guess you call it a brick or stone, had to be up. But in the past, we had that we noticed after a period of time, it tend to like sink. So we decided to I decided to have it put on a slab, which it'll last longer. But not knowing, thinking that the 15 feet is, the only thing is the back fence is like more like 6 or 7 versus 15 from the back.
From the back, I measured it.
And, but we also have the slope.
So couldn't put the shed there. So the most feasible place to put the shed was on the east side. Level ground, yes.
Ground, part of the yard, really. Because initially I wanted to put it, you could look to the left up there with a rock, that's why I wanted to put it. Then I thought about putting it in the middle, and that's what accepted in all runs. And also on the left-hand side of the shed, this is another sprinkler septic where it be flowing into it.
In other words, the septic lines run. Because the septic system, as you're looking at the house, is on the left side, the septic system. So the lines run on the left side of the house. I don't have a front picture of the house. I started to take a front picture of the house, but I didn't.
But after doing that, it was, we were thinking that the shed was all right, it was so fine until up to like a year or so later, and then we get a final inspection. I even had added to the shed, like I put the trim on, tried to make it match the house and everything. But a year or so later, we get like a final inspection. Like she said, I was at work and she was at home. And I was like, I thought everything was fine, which, we did. But,
and it's in good taste. It's in good taste. It complements the house. Our neighbors have no problem with it. The McCormick's is on our, as you're facing the house, on our left side. And having a brain.
It is a very nice shed. So what we'd like to do now is open it up to questions from the council for you all. Council, any questions for the Bradleys? Okay.
I think the issue is, it is attractive, no issue there. I believe you said it ran over, your builder will not call you back.
No, I tried to contact him and he would not.
But it's too close to the fence. It's in the setback.
Right.
Right.
To the side of the fence.
Right, against, the back fence, right?
Well, the back fence is, yeah, the
I'm
side.
sorry, I'm sorry, yeah,
fence.
yes.
Right, the side fence.
It's back, but it's on the side, yes. I do understand that.
Yeah, that picture.
Jesse?
On the permit, who, I see two signatures, who was the other person that signed the permit? You? In that permit, it said setback, interior lot 15 feet.
Yeah,
And I understand that in the drawing, there's a drawing, hand-drawn drawing where the shed was. It showed 5 feet, and then I understand the inspector, Wilbert, actually marked it up to say 15, is what I understand. So, I mean, it was clear when you got the permit that it should be 15 feet. At least I thought it would. It should have been communicated to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression that the builder had built the shed to the correct specifications. I didn't know that he hadn't until we got the final inspection a year later.
And the other comment about the septic tank lines, those are just PVC pipe. You can move those. So those are not, to me, not an issue. You just physically dig out, around it and put those PVC pipes back in. So it's not like putting concrete on top of them and you would move them. That's what I would do. So it's not, to me, it's not a hardship to move those PVC lines. So my comments.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm going to have a go at this. I work in construction. I'm a military retiree. I've heard of this kind of thing happening before. If you look at the permit that's on here, the contractor, and I'm going to hold them to it because they signed the build permit. The build permit very specifically said builder is responsible. Builder is responsible. Builder must. It's on there about 4 or 5 different times it's on there. And I know it's hard to get a hold of this guy. I don't have any grand advice for you guys outside of you've got standing to go back after this guy. That's just all there is to it. He didn't get the required inspections done. There's any number of things that weren't done appropriately. And it sucks. I don't know how else to put it.
And I've tried to reach out to him several times. I don't know if the number is correct anymore.
Yeah, it may warrant a Google search. It may warrant an attorney. I'll have our attorney throw things at me if I overstep my bounds up here, please. But working in this kind of an industry, it's unfortunately sometimes this happens. And in my mind, in my way of thinking, the person that's truly at fault at this is the builder because he didn't comply with it. You're not required to be a construction expert because you own a home. The guy that's building it and pulling the permits is required to know that information. Unfortunately, it also happens. So one of the things I guess I'd like to see is a concerted effort, some way of trying to contact the builder. It would get you guys off the hook. He could come back out here, move that shed, whatever that's going to take. We know probably what it's going to take because it's on a slab. And it shouldn't cost you guys anything. That's just a factual statement. If you can't get a hold of him, I don't know where to go with it from there. That's a hard one. It happens. Sometimes leaving a message saying, hey, you didn't comply with any of the building requirements here. We got a problem. You got to come back here and fix this. And see what you get.
Try again. I don't know. I've
That
left
might-
messages after messages, and you never called me back.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but did you get grumpy with him?
No, I was
Please.
actually pretty nice. I didn't
Yeah,
want to get grumpy.
I'm asking that because you're coming off as a very nice person, and
Yeah, I
sometimes
didn't
with these
wanna get
guys,
grumpy 'cause he definitely
they
took
only
it.
understand grumpy in some cases. So I hate putting it that way, but that's the only thing they understand sometimes. So I guess I'd like to see a little bit more time on this. If we get a chance to get the builder to come out, we don't have to worry about, again, we don't have to worry about a variance. He needs to move it. The builder, in my mind, is at fault on this.
If for some reason we can't get a hold of them, they come out. What about the slab though? They have to remove that as well?
Yeah. Basically what he's gonna have to do is take the shed down and move it. pour a new slab, the whole works. But his construction work is invalid because he didn't comply with any of the building permit requirements. He did no pre-pour inspection. We don't even know if there's rebar, if the slab's poured to code, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of issues here from a builder standpoint that he did not comply with.
Couldn't we recommend to, go ahead, Hal. So into this, okay.
Okay, I'll quit talking.
Yeah.
But
no,
there's some of my
that's
thought processes.
My fault.
There's some room to go here.
My fault. I opened up the discussion before we had the public hearing. So thank you for your presentation. What we'll do now is open a public hearing. Again, you're not required to sign up to speak. But if you do, please sign in with the city secretary. After speaking, you get 1 3-minute period. And if you already submitted written comments, but choose to speak, then that written comment will not also be read. We open the public hearing for this at 8:56 p.m. Thank you, Marissa, for the reminder. And if you guys want to just have a seat in case someone wants to come up and speak about it, thank you. Would anybody like to come up and speak regarding this request for variance? Okay, Marissa, did you receive any written requests?
No, no written comments.
Okay, no written comments. All right, public hearing is closed at 8:57. Mr. and Ms. Bradley, you can just remain seated and the council will just keep on discussing this, if that's okay. Any other comments from my right side? What about if maybe this builder isn't returning phone calls and communication because he knows he's at fault and he's just trying to avoid it? Could we also recommend seeking out another general contractor to come out and give a bid? Usually those bids are free of charge, to do the same thing to correct this other builder's work. Okay.
Yeah, that's an option. It would also fit into our checklist matrix with what's the hardship here. You know, if we've got a cost, we've got a dollar number we can assign to it. Yeah, most builders are going to come out and do a bid on it.
Okay.
So, they come out and bid it for free.
Any other comments on this? So what we're thinking about here is giving some more time to contact the original builder and to insist that he comes out and gives you and says, hey, yep, I'll fix it. While you're waiting for him to respond, to seek out another 1 or 2 contractors to come out and give you a bid to see how much it would be to move it so it's within code with our city ordinance, ordinance 13. So does that make sense to you guys before we act on that? Okay. So council, given that discussion, any further discussion or a motion?
We need to give him some time.
Yeah, that's
It's
what a
not-
motion would be doing. So if we moved
To table.
well, if we move to allow them more time to seek the builder out again and additional contractors to come out and give them a bid that they could come back and either with the builder or come back to council with that bid to see how much it would be, and we'd give you time to do that. Would that be amicable? Okay. So with that in mind, could we get a motion that would support that?
How much time do we want to give them? 3 months?
I move that we postpone decision this evening to allow the petitioners time to seek out additional, to attempt to contact the original builder for satisfaction, as well as obtaining 1 to 2 more bids to bring it back to council when you're ready. Not necessarily next month, but when you are ready, so we can consider it at that time.
Okay, we have a motion to delay any action on this until the Bradleys are ready to come back to us with bids to move it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. So Mr. and Mrs. Bradley, what that means is you have time now to go seek out the original builder and get him back to your property to make the adjustments, and/or can call out some additional contractors, at least one, for a bid to move the shed to, so we put it back and it's not within the 15-foot setback. So everything, does that make sense? You understand what we are requiring? So come back to us when you're ready? Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 9C, resolution number 439-042022, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, setting the time, day, and place of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So before we go further, Council, I know you've read about this in your packets. What we're trying to do is move the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to a different day that will be much easier for our city attorney, Cynthia, to attend those meetings. The firm that we have been with for so many years is very, very busy, and our city attorney is very good at what she does. And so her firm requires her not to be just with the City of Garden Ridge. She is out and about with a lot of different municipalities because she's so good. We have discussed this with the partners in your firm, and this would be an amicable solution to help to ensure that Cynthia is present for these meetings to the max extent possible. So in what we have come up with, and the Planning and Zoning Commission agreed to this, is the second Wednesday of each month. So any discussion on that? Lisa?
Sounds good.
Okay. Good. If there's no further discussion, can I have a motion?
I move that we. I had it on, sorry. I move that we move the regular meeting of of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to the second Wednesday of each month, beginning in April. Correct?
Let's just have the motion.
Do you approve the resolution?
Yeah.
Okay,
Move to approve the resolution.
Quit poking me. I make a motion to approve resolution number 439-042022, a resolution of the City of Garden Ridge setting the day, time, and place of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, period.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries, the resolution carries. Moving on, item number 9D, ordinance number 210-04-2022, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting board and commission policies and procedures, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. Before we discuss this, if any discussion is needed, what we're adding to ordinance 210 is paragraph 4J and paragraph 4K. 4J allows for the dissolution of boards and commissions, and 4K discusses at-will appointments for commissioners. Do I have discussion? You see your mic's on. Do you have anything to say? No?
I think they're both important and necessary.
Okay, thank you. Going to my left.
I agree with the changes, discussed before, so, yeah, I'm good
Okay.
with it.
Todd, okay. Okay, if there's no further discussion, can I have a motion to approve the ordinance as written?
I move to approve the ordinance as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. John McCaw came in underneath the wire there. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. The ordinance and amendments are approved. That takes us to item number 9E, ordinance number 23204-2022. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting City Council conduct policies and procedures, providing for a penalty, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. Before we continue, can I have a motion?
I got it. You got it?
I got it. I move that the council disclose certain information received in closed session as it relates to adoption of the proposed ethics ordinance.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed to the motion? The motion carries. Before we continue with any further discussion about this new ordinance, I'm going to read a prepared statement on behalf of the City of Garden Ridge, giving some background on where this ordinance is coming from, its genesis. The week after the 2021 general election for the City of Garden Ridge, city staff witnessed an elected official intentionally destroying physical records belonging to the city while still in office. This elected official's behavior was of such concern to city staff that the computer assigned to this individual was secured inside the evidence vault of the police department in the attempt to preserve the electronic records belonging to the City of Garden Ridge on the computer's hard drive. During the executive session of the June City Council meeting, the council was briefed on the elected official's behavior the week after the election. The council also received legal advice from the city attorney regarding the alleged unauthorized destruction of official city records. Based on the information received, council directed the chief of police to investigate the hard drive of the elected official's assigned computer to see what, if any, electronic files and official city records remained. The chief turned the hard drive over to the city's IT specialists, CIT, for a thorough examination of the hard drive. CIT concluded that while there were no electronic files or city records remaining on the drive, there was evidence the drive had been electronically erased during the week after the election. There was also evidence that the contents of the hard drive had been downloaded onto an external drive or drives during the same time frame. CIT also recommended hiring an IT forensic specialist to further examine the drive for evidence beyond the capabilities of CIT. Upon subsequent discussion in executive session with the chief of police and our city attorney, the council directed the hiring of a reputable IT forensic specialist to further examine the drive for evidence of the erased files and city records. The IT forensic specialist concluded that the hard drive had been wiped and that specific files had been downloaded and deleted prior to the hard drive being wiped the week after the election. The specialist also concluded that without the external drives that were used to download the files, recovery of the electronic records from the wiped hard drive was not possible. After the results of this examination were briefed to the City Council, the Council directed the Mayor, the City Attorney, and the Chief of Police to seek legal advice from the Comal County District Attorney regarding the elected official's unauthorized and deliberate destruction of physical and electronic city records. While the Council did not want to press charges against the elected official, Council members are sworn to protect the city if sufficient evidence existed that the penal code had been violated. The district attorney advised that while the elected official most likely destroyed the aforementioned records, there was not enough evidence to criminally charge that the penal code had been broken. Every member of this council took an oath to, quote, faithfully execute the duties of the office of council members and, to the best of their ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, end quote. As a council, it was incumbent on us to take these allegations seriously and to investigate the allegations. We, as a council, found the behavior unethical and extremely concerning. We followed up with an investigation conducted by third-party individuals and then turned it over for review by the district attorney. We believed then that the erratic, unethical, and unprofessional behavior was in direct violation of the Texas Local Government Records Act, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, as well as the City of Garden Ridge Ordinance Number 67. While ultimately the district attorney determined that criminal charges were not supported by the evidence, and it was determined that the actions were not state law ethics violations, we as a council find the actions were not acceptable and a violation of what we believe is and should be the ethical and professional standard expected of a council member. After being advised that there were no other legal avenues to follow, the City Council directed the mayor and city staff to draft a new ordinance addressing and guiding the ethical behavior of our city's elected officials. This draft ordinance will hopefully prevent the inexcusable and inexplicable behavior witnessed after the election in 2021 and the 10-month-long ordeal endured thereafter. Council, with that statement being read, I will open this up to discussion. To my right. To my left. If there's no further, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate what you wrote. I keep coming back to a quote. It's a Machiavelli quote that says, "It's not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." So one of the things that we talked about in executive session was honoring the office of the mayor. It's not about the person. It's not a personal thing. It's the weight of the office, the responsibility of the office, and that there's meaning in that. You know, so I think it's important that we encapsulized, you know what I'm saying, encaptured what happened. So I appreciate your words.
Thank you. And these words were mine and edits with the city staff and especially our city attorney. But thank you. Anything else, council? If there's no more discussion, can I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 23204-2022, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting City Council conduct policies, including a code of ethics and ethical conduct rules, providing disciplinary actions for violations of this ordinance, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item number 9F, City of Garden Ridge 50th anniversary. We have a huge celebration in the works, not only with the Parks Committee and our July 4th, our traditional July 4th celebration at Paul Davis Park with our parade and singing of the national anthem and festivities afterwards, but we're going to have a huge party that night to celebrate the 50th birthday of the City of Garden Ridge and the 50th anniversary of us being incorporated as a city, which is actually July 6th, 1972, but we're going to celebrate it on July 4th. We'll all still be sleeping July 6th. So Kay, as our liaison to the 50th Anniversary Planning Committee, do you have a couple of announcements for us?
Couple of announcements. I'm saving the big one. I will go back to, we're just going to be flooded with food trucks. Food that you don't want to eat, food that you should eat, food that you'll regret eating just because it'll feel so good. And food for, honestly, for kids of all ages. The band we've already talked about, Mothership. You can look them up online. They've got a terrific following. And what's really going to be fun, I mean, it's all going to be fun, but this is spectacular. For the sake of safety and keeping Chief Eberhardt sane, we're going to have a laser light show instead of fireworks. I mean, it's going to be wonderful. This is a custom laser light show. These people do work in different parts of the country. They're coming forward. They're going to do logos of our big sponsors, our Dynamite sponsors. We still have room for more Dynamite sponsors, but I predict that the people at Shirts are going to come over to watch us because they're not going to have fireworks. It's going to be too darn dry. But it's really, I mean, it's the more we do on this, the more exciting it is, and it is frighteningly close. We still are looking for people. Please pay attention to our website for our sponsorships and so on like that, and we're going to have some terrific swag, unique, one-of-a-kind swag available for purchase and also to be donated to our sponsors on certain levels. Don't know if there's anything else at this point.
No, that sums it up. We have enough money to also have T-shirts and, like you said, all the swag out there.
T-shirts, right.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. We have beverage trucks, both adult and regular beverages. So
legal and otherwise.
Still keeping the chief sane. We're trying to. We have, you want to discuss the limousines?
I
that we
forgot,
have?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot. We have contracted with local limousine service. We're going to have limousine buses, 31-seat limousine buses, ferrying any overflow parking, which of course there will be, from our city complex. We have an arrangement through our mayor with Davenport High School. So these limousines will be on call at our beck and call, beginning right away to take you either to your car or bring you back from Davenport and so on and so on. So it'll just be easy peasy. And they're a great service. I've used them several times for local events.
Thank you, Kay. And let me reiterate that I think the laser light show is a very wise, smart decision because it looks like it's going to be a very dry summer. And I don't know how many fireworks displays there will actually be unless we get some rain. So to publicly thank the person whose idea this truly was, Mr. Steven Steinmetz is the one that went, well, what about a laser light show? And then Nancy and Steven and the chief acted on that, and the chief's happy, which means all of us should be happy. It's going to be a great party. Get as much sleep as you can for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because Monday's going to be chock full of stuff to do. So.
Well, I would like to clarify too that please don't think that this is lessens or shortens or anything our traditional parade and kid contest judging and so on, the traditional 4th of July that you're used to at our Paul Davis Park. That will still happen. Just at 2 o'clock, go home, shower, take a nap, get in the air conditioning, then come back at 5 for the second half of the party. 6, well, that's right, food trucks will be there at 5. But at 6 o'clock, and the band will begin at 7. Also, just as a reminder, City Hall is going to be closed on Tuesday, so you can party. You can party. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. Awesome. We're looking forward to it. And thank you, Council, for giving us the authorization to plan that and everything. We really appreciate that. Okay, on to item number 9G, development of back entrance access to Paul Davis Park. Speaking of the 4th of July. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. this idea of using the back entrance into Paul Davis Park was brought forward by Chief Eberhart shortly after last year's July 4th event. Off of Blazing Star, the city has a 60-foot right-of-way directly across from Sundew Lane. That 60-foot right-of-way goes up to the double lock gates at the back of the park. Okay, that picture right there. And those double gates go directly into Paul Davis Park. What we would like to do is get permission from City Council to make that an access point to use to bring visitors coming to our July 4th event or any other large city-sponsored event where we need to park them in the large field there at Paul Davis Park. As you can see from the yellow arrow or yellow line at Blazing Star, it kind of curves around and then leads into that open area where we normally park for events. What this will do is it will provide a much safer and a much more controlled entrance in front of Paul Davis Park there on Grass Creek. People will no longer drive across the creek or the little built-up area that Public Works does across the creek on into the parking area. It will get rid of all that congestion. It will be less that PD is going to have to contend with congestion. It's going to be a much safer environment. During that time, when the heaviest amount of people are trying to park, they're trying to stage vehicles for the parade. You've got pedestrians that have parked or walking from their homes that are trying to enter that area, as well as vehicles that are trying to access the parking area. So we would like for council to approve the city using that back entrance. There are only 3 cedar trees that are going to have to be removed. There may be a little bit of brush clearing to kind of widen out the area as you move into beyond the gates into the park. And the area would be mulched, as well as Public Works will, if there's any rutting, they will fix that rutting and keep that area looking nice. I have only been able to get in contact with the property owner that is adjacent to that right-of-way at 9207 Blazing Star, which is property to the right. She had no problem with us using that right-of-way. The other property owner I have not been able to reach. I have left a message, and then I've tried to leave additional messages, but their voicemail box is full. Chief, do you want to add anything about?
You pretty much said it all, but as Ms. Kane said, we get a gridlock when we're stacking everybody up on Bluebell, staging for the parade. You've got people coming to drop off different supplies for all the different events and children events, and then you've got the parking coming in and out at the same place. It makes for a very congested area. If we could change that one entrance, the ingress and egress up there off Blazing Star, that would prevent us from having all that traffic at one 300-foot portion of a roadway directly in front of the park. It will prevent, it will save on maintenance. We won't have to keep putting culvert and gravel and trying to maintain a creek bed for driving back and forth across. We can just bring them in and out the back and use it accordingly. So I think it would be a smoother flow for the entire event.
Thank you. Nancy, anything else?
No, I have nothing else to add.
All right. Kat, can you bring that picture back up? The other one. Okay. So obviously, as Nancy said, think 4th of July and how many people we have. Think homecoming parade and how many people we had. And perhaps we'll have again. So for this year. So what do you guys think?
I think it's obviously safer, and I think if, in the every now and then we do get heavy rains, and the creek does become somewhat dangerous, much less try to cross it, so I think that's certainly a safety factor and a healthy factor. I would anticipate the first few times we incorporate that as our, as our overflow, or our big parking, if you will, we're going to have to create some signs or some awareness online to allow people that are used to going up there and like turning in. It's like, wait a minute, because obviously those that are used to pulling in the driveway, the dirt road, if you will, the access road, need to be redirected. But I think over time it'll be smooth as can be.
I agree. Anybody else?
I've assisted with the parade, blocking the intersections. And one of the biggest problems we dealt with, the people are blocking, is people trying to get in there to get to the park.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to tell people, no, you can't come in, was very frustrating. You always have to get help, especially as being as a citizen, not an officer. So give them directions to come around without going through the parade route, get in the parking, to me is ideal. So. Yeah, after dealing with a lot of the parades, yeah, definitely. It's torture out there. People that work those intersections.
I agree. Any action required on this? I don't think a motion is needed. Do you need a consensus?
I think I would like a motion.
Okay.
That's
All right.
Good idea.
So we're going to act on this. Without any further discussion, can I have a motion?
I do have a point.
Further discussion. Keep going.
Please. Okay, it just went completely away. I'm so dumb.
It's okay. It's a good discussion.
Well, we didn't, quiet, please. Do we anticipate this happening or being able to be done before this year's 4th of July? Is that something can be done?
Stephen says it can be done.
Perfect.
Do we need to worry about the other neighbor there as far as making contact? You made a lot of attempts, and no one, you said though, so is that?
We've made multiple attempts,
Yeah, so, yeah.
and we haven't heard anything back. So, to add to the discussion, this was briefed to the Parks Committee yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And the Parks Committee is in agreement with it, correct? Okay.
Parks Committee said that they support it.
Okay. So, any further discussion now?
Way back
When this wasn't part of the Parks Committee discussion, because when we incorporated the chain link fence, safety fence.
I'm sorry, I keep my thumb on it. I beg your pardon. No, I'm on 2 now. I beg your pardon, because back when we put in the security fence, we do have those gates there, and we were anticipating in the future opening that up more so and having it more of a safety access point.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Can I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the development of the back entrance access to Paul Davis Park.
We have a move to approve. Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Great. All right, moving on to item number 10, updates. 10A, City Council projects. Jesse, you're up with bulk dumpsters and brush along FM 3009.
Okay, again, thanks to everybody who's been securing their brush loads, their loads. I really didn't see much this last month, I don't know about the rest of the council, how y'all did, but, so I'm just interested in comments there. But again, big improvement over past months. I appreciate that. And I'm good that we want to remove this from the agenda for the time being and just bring it back up if we see a fit need. Is that so?
Yeah, Council, I have seen a noticed improvement based on you bringing this up and us discussing it for a few straight months. And I would be in agreement to taking it off the agenda, and hopefully we don't have to add it back on.
Yeah.
Any other further comments, Council? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on that, Chester. That helped. That's a success. All right, on to item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Anybody have anything they'd want to add for the agenda for next month?
I'd like to open up a discussion on, to make our citizens aware, for the sake of our transparency, knowledge, and so on, of upcoming and future traffic on 3009.
Okay, so we'll add upcoming traffic discussion for 3009. Anything else? Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you. Going on to item number 12, citizen comment period. You're not required to sign up, but if you do speak, then please see the city secretary after, and everybody has 1 2-minute period. If anybody would like to get up and speak, that's still here. Thank you for being here. Okay, nobody wants to speak, so item number 12 is closed. Item number 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members. Anybody have anything to add with the items listed? Great, I'll go. All right, Families of Garden Ridge, we competed in the trash off last Saturday, and we broke our record for our Adopt a Highway program. We collected 52 bags of trash. Now, they're not all totally filled, but it was 52 bags of trash and tons of road debris, including a mattress, trees, an oil pan from a truck, all kinds of stuff. We had 32 volunteers for over 70 hours of volunteer hours. So it's the most people I've had there. I need to publicly thank Northeast Bible Church Youth Group for being there again. So JP, way to go. And the youth group, way to go. I want to also thank Lieutenant Colonel Almond, who is the commander of the Junior ROTC detachment at Davenport High School, because he's been out there 3 times. The last 3 times they've been out there, and they've really done a lot of great work. And then our stalwart volunteers, Linda Potts, Bruce, and Rod Chamberlain are always out there. So, among others. So thank you so much for that. I asked when I talked to TxDOT if we won the competition, and she said, yeah, you had the most bags of trash and the most volunteers. I asked what we got, and she said, great job. So, attaboy. All I wanted was a star or something. And so thanks for all your support on that, everybody out there. And it looks great. Rod Chamberlain, even with Linda Potts, brought a no kidding, chainsaw trimmer to help out with all that debris on the other side of Biggs on 2252. So I stayed away from Rod and let him go, and they cleaned it up. So yeah, it was great work. So thank you so much. Northeast Partnership, we have a luncheon next week. Hello, love to see everybody out there with a big showing, so please. We've got our county luncheon next Monday, so if you're so inclined, we'd love to see you out there. And big shout out to Davenport High School for, again, being more than willing to help out, and Garden Ridge Elementary to help out with their parking lots for our 4th of July evening celebration. As well as Mr. Deloach, the principal of Davenport, is all about hosting looking for our support to host another homecoming parade with a date to be determined sometime on a Wednesday in September, just like last year. So Chief, just so you know, that's coming down the road. And he thanked the city of Garden Ridge for all of its support, not just the city council, but all of the residents for their support of our schools, specifically Davenport High School. So that's all I've got. Anybody else have anything for these items? Okay, on to item number 14. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
I second the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn and a second. Any further discussion? No, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned at 9:36 PM. Thank you.